Oh, man. I'm sweating right now. I'm in my apartment. Somebody call the cops on me in my own building. Cops following me. You know how it is.
Moved back to my city. It's Friday night. I'm about to go outside and start moving things into the building. I'm gonna make sure I'm not too loud. I'm not thumping. I was cognizant of that. I'm like, I'm not gonna make a bunch of noise here.
So what exactly happened?
So I was about halfway through my move. I'm tired. You know, I'm moving boxes up and down. I get into the lobby, and I look at the door, and I see blue and white. I see police. I look to my left. I look to my right, and I look inside. I'm like, they're here for me.
What's the problem? I live here. You guys want to investigate? What are you guys investigating? Listen.
They immediately start asking me, who are you? What are you doing here? Then they play the dispatch. You know, responding to someone banging on doors, has a weapon on them.
We doing our job, that's it. Who called you? If you do nothing wrong, you're good to go. Who called you? Someone called us.
This was somebody in the building who did not want me there. People don't realize the consequences of their actions. When you profile and you act on that profiling, you're reporting a crime. I'm reporting a crime that may not be in process. The only crime that you saw...
The crime was living while black.
Living while black. In this case, moving while black.
Welcome back. So many of these incidents start with one simple phone call to the police, which is presumably there to protect and serve.
But in a world where folks are encouraged to say something, if they see something, the question is, when should people call the cops?
With us now is Larry Krasner, the district attorney for Philadelphia, also Philip Atiba Goff, professor in policing equity at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and Tim Wise, an anti-racist educator and the author of the forthcoming book, White Lies, or White Lives Matter, Race, Crime, and the Politics of Fear in America. Now, we're hearing plenty of stories about everyday racism from the perspective of the black experience. But these interactions actually have two parties. Filmmaker Whitney Dow has been exploring these issues in a documentary series called The Whiteness Project, in which he talks to white Americans about race.
I think about race a lot. I do feel a common bond with other white people because that's primarily who I find myself being around.
I feel more comfortable around more people my race. I hate that it's like that, but it is. I think it's a lot, we're more comfortable around each other because it doesn't seem, and I may be wrong, it doesn't seem that there's as many whites that are out doing crimes and murdering and causing trouble and doing a lot of those things.
You hear the privilege, though. Listen to what this guy says right here. Listen to him again.
It doesn't seem that there's as many race. I hate that it's like that, but it is. I think it's a lot.
Okay, the first part he says, I feel comfortable being around white people. I hate that it's like that, but it is. You feel comfortable around white people if you're white because it's familiar to you. Your parents are white. You look in the mirror, you see your own complexion of skin, and it's soothing to be around people who look like you, and more than likely, people who look like you have a similar culture, a similar background, and a similar type of upbringing, which gives you more similarities and more in common when it not just actually being in direct contact, but when it comes to conversations and different aspects of your life and your choices, kind of depend on what culture or racial group you grew up in. And it's more comfortable like that. Yeah, it is. I worked at my job. The first 2 years I worked at my job, I was the only black person in our entire department for 2 years. But I did that shit and I put up with it, and it wasn't that bad. I had to take hella motherfuckers to HR, because you ain't gonna try to play me or work me harder than none of these white boys, or you ain't getting no extra shit out of me. I come here to do the exact same job everybody else does for the exact same pay, and that's point blank period. So yeah, in the beginning, some motherfuckers thought they can talk to me any old kind of way. A motherfucker called me boy. I shut that shit down. I almost beat that bitch ass, but he wound up getting fired. You know, motherfuckers trying to throw extra duties and jobs on me. I reject that shit. I throw that bitch down. Quit. You ain't about to play me, and nobody ever played me. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to biases, because I'm the black guy, and you know, just work the nigger. That's nigger work. Give it to him. Like, nah, I ain't play with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Goddamn. For 2 years, I was the only black person in my department. I don't think most white dudes can work somewhere for 2 years and being the only white person there. One white dude can't work around motherfucking 50 black dudes every day, day in and day out for 2 years and not get frustrated with that shit, because you just feel more comfortable around people who look like you. Exactly. So, but I understand that his first part of the statement, I feel comfortable. I'm a white man. I feel comfortable around white people. That's completely understandable. But he says, I feel more comfortable around white people because it seems like black people are committing more crimes and black people are more violent. He says, it seems like black people are more violent and commit more crimes. It seems like. Now, you don't have any first-hand experience of any of this shit. The only way it seems this way to you is because of your intake of media and mainstream news that fixes your perception on who is violent and who isn't violent. But in the past 10 years, how many mass shootings, how many mass murders, how many mass executions were carried out by black and brown people in the last decade? How many mass shootings were carried out by black people, brown people, Muslims, Indians? But for some reason, he says, it seems like blacks commit more crime. They're more violent. In our own communities, amongst ourselves, where we're all fucking poorly educated, we're either below the poverty line, we're unemployed or underemployed, and that leads to this cycle of drug dealing and violence just to try to survive. You know what I'm saying? But that's by design. But when you step outside the black community, you don't see us just running up in churches, running up in grocery stores, running up in school buildings, just laying down 15, 16 motherfuckers, going to concerts, killing 56 people, going to the movie theater, killing 17 people, wounding 19 people. That's violence. Those are real criminals. But for some reason, white people still think that we're more violent than they are. When you see this nation is a white nation predominantly run by white people, and we bomb more of the fucking world than anybody else. We put sanctions and embargoes on all these third world countries that puts them in a more perpetual cycle of poverty and death and not having clean water and all this shit by white. This is policies implemented by white people. But for some reason, this white dude says, "Oh, it just seems like black people are more violent, even on a low motherfucking social scale. White people do more fucking crimes." And the only reason we're a larger portion of the prison population is because they don't get charged. They don't get fucking charged with the crimes they commit. Yeah, you commit a crime and you fucking get off on that shit on some 6 months probation or some dumbass slap on the wrist or some corny ass fine, where the same fucking charge, black man going to jail for 2 fucking years. That's why we're more of the prison population. That's why we seem more violent, because You commit more violent crimes and get away with this shit. We commit misdemeanors and they lock us up for 2 and 3 years for dumb shit, for having a little bit of weed on me. But a motherfucker can rape a girl drunk behind a fucking dumpster on the college campus, and this motherfucker do 3 months. 3 months for rape. But we seem to be more violent. And I can never ever really figure, like, how do white people justify that shit? This white nation, America, a white nation, dropped motherfucking atom bombs on yellow people, killing millions of people. All the wars that we've been in over the fucking past 80 years kill millions of people worldwide. White people kill millions of ethnic people. Brown, yellow, black, all the fucking time. But some reason black people, we're more violent. We're more prone to violence, and we're more criminal than anybody else. But once again, we name one black person who has committed a mass shooting this decade in the last 10 years, who has killed 18, 19 people in one shot. You can't do it. You know why? Because we're not as violent as the white man. And once again, gang activity ain't even that bad. Like I said, man, they talking about, oh, we need to ban assault rifles and this and that. Even with gangs, man, these motherfuckers in Chicago and LA shooting up each other, man, these motherfuckers got 9mm, they got high points, they got some 38s and shit like that. These motherfuckers ain't got no fucking Barrett 50 cals and no AR-15s, no AR-22s and no big shit like that. That's all white men. Oh, we gotta get all these assault rifles, man. That's white dudes doing all that shit with the fucking big ass assault guns and assault rifles and shit like that. Niggas, we got little pocket sized handguns, some shit we can put in our goddamn in a waistband. We don't even go get motherfucking straps or holsters for our guns and shit. Niggas don't do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Motherfucker go get a little Glock 9, a little Smith & Wesson 22 or some shit, carry that shit around in his motherfucking pocket. Oh, the assault rifles, that's all white man with that shit, man. I go to Gander Mountain, I be the only black dude in that shit. All these white men in here buying guns, not because they need it, because they on sale. The AR-15 on sale for $590. This motherfucker in here buying 2 of them because they on sale. You know what I'm saying? That's that white man shit, because they violent. They love their fucking guns. They invented the gun. They have taken control over the entire world by the gun, and they will not relinquish this control over the world because they keep making bigger guns and better guns and bigger bombs and smarter bombs and better planes and drones and automated drones, and now they don't even have to have a pilot. They can just send a robot out and bomb your ass. If that's not violent, see, that's the thing. White people have a monopoly on violence. They feel like if anybody should use violence, it should be white people. Because we're the civilizers of the world. And other people, black and brown people, yellow people, you guys really don't know what to do with violence. You're just going to hurt yourself. So when they said Assad is gassing his own people, so now we got to go over and bomb Assad to show him that killing people is wrong. Because we have the monopoly on killing people. Oh, this dictator is killing his own people. Oh, well, we got to go over there and kill that dictator to show him that killing his people is wrong. Because we have a monopoly on killing people. You can't do that shit. And it's this weird block that the average white person has on their mind that will not allow them to see themselves for what they are. You are a member of the most violent race on this planet. Point blank, period. Historically and in present times, you're more violent than anybody else. More so. The most violent people on this earth is the white man. And I'll tell that shit to any white man. I'll tell that shit to my brother-in-law. I'll tell that shit to my uncle, dead to his face. You are a part of the most violent group of people on this planet that have ever existed, is the white man. But for some reason, oh, I feel like black people are more violent. Yeah, stereotypes are real. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean people fit stereotypes. Stereotypes are created by who, though? You know what I'm saying? Once again, the white man has classified, organized, and goddamn defined everything. I have to use his language to explain my own emotions, because I can't use my own fucking native tongue because I don't know what that shit is. You know what I'm saying? But using his definitions and his categorization of whatever, you know what I'm saying, I can only say as much as his language allows me to say. And they build all these things into their language and propaganda, like stereotypes.
I feel more comfortable around more people my race. I hate that it's like that, but it is. I think it's a lot. We're more comfortable around each other because it doesn't seem, and I may be wrong, it doesn't seem that there's as many whites that are out doing crimes and murdering and causing trouble and doing a lot of those things.
And filmmaker Whitney Dow joins us now. And Whitney, I wonder if you could talk about the process of getting white people, frankly, to talk about race and how you get them comfortable enough to be open and honest about issues of race and racial bias.
I think white people are desperate to talk about race. I think white people don't know how to have that conversation. And when you create an environment where they can actually talk honestly about it and talk about how they feel, how they that they really want to have the conversation.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how much of the way that they react to people of color is rooted in sort of, in your view, misinformation. You heard the last guy say, well, you know, black people are committing the crimes, right? And how much of it is sort of learned behavior, and in your view, how much of it is outright bias?
Well, I mean, I think there's an incredible amount of fear, and I think there's a lot of outright bias. But actually, I've been thinking a lot about this. I think that I just came back from Wyoming, where I spent about a week interviewing 50 white people and partially white people talking about their experience living in an almost all-white community. But I think that what is really interesting to me is that they're in a community where there's almost no people of color, and all the information they get is from the media. So the media, they're seeing over and over again these images.
And that's a white man hitting you with the truth right there, yo. Most stereotypes are perpetuated by the dominant class. You know what I'm saying? The dominant class, once again, if you have control over the government, over politics, over religion, over education, over the economic systems, over all the important land and resources, if you're in control, you are the one who propagates stereotypes, and stereotypes is nothing but propaganda. You know what I'm saying? And only people in control can perpetuate these constant figments of people's imagination. You know what I'm saying? And it's weird because I really don't know a lot of negative white people stereotypes, but there are so many negative stereotypes for black and brown people. Now, do you think that's by design, or is it, if every race makes stereotypes, like, I don't even know, like, really bad white people jokes, like, to make white people feel bad. I don't even know any. As much as I listen to Chappelle don't even make, like, degrading jokes about white people. He just tells stories, like funny stories, and how the outcome would affect a white person different from a black person. It's just not like jokes, you know what I'm saying? And it's weird. Like, I've heard all kind of fucking nigger jokes and shit like that, but I've never heard a bunch of cracker jokes. And there's all kind of negative stereotypes for having dark skin or being a black person. But I don't really know a lot of negative stereotypes for white people. And I'm almost 40 years old. You know what I'm saying? And I've never just heard so much bad stuff about white people where it's like a known stereotype, other than don't trust the white man. You know what I'm saying? Don't trust them. That's a stereotype. Another negative stereotype about white people. They smell like dogs when they get wet. That's a stereotype that I hear, a negative stereotype. And that's about it. Like I've never, you know what I'm saying? Other than that, white people ain't nothing but sunshine and lemon drops, straight from Jesus Christ himself. You know what I'm saying? They always go to college and their teeth are pearly white. Like, what the fuck? That's what all the commercials tell me. That's what all the TV shows tell me. That shit. That's why I actually like watching the Game of Thrones, yo. Them white people in that show fucked up. I like watching shit like that. Them motherfuckers all fucking and incest and got incest children and bastard kids and motherfucking psychotic murderers and rapists, and it's like, oh, hey, white people. Oh, man. I gotta watch that shit. They only got a couple black people in that show. Of course, they slaves. The one black dude, he a slave and he castrated. So they took his dick away from his ass. The other black dude, he's a motherfucking pirate smuggler. So he's technically a bad guy. It's not like he's some upstanding dude. It's like, yeah, you know, they still make the black people look bad in that show, but everybody get it. Ain't no sun and lemon drops. You know what I'm saying? That's what
Listen to your black ass talk all day about how much you can't stand black folks.
Ain't two of them in the history of the world that's worth a squirrel for.
Oh, how much you love white folks?
Best thing the good Lord ever did for the planet Earth.
Ruckus, you black as ace of spades, man.
I don't see the need for you to go and insult the man after a game of checkers. We've been reminiscing all day, looking in each other's eyes, acting like we like each other. Now you gotta go ahead and remind me of my ailment.
Ailment?
That's right. You heard of vitiligo? Shoot, well, I got vitiligo. Every year my skin just seems to get blacker and darker and blacker and then more darker. It's the opposite of what Michael Jackson got. Lucky bastard.
Ruckus, how could you possibly love white people so much?
It's easy. Have you ever looked at them? White man just a joy to be around. They smell like lemon juice and pledge furniture cleaner. And look at them. They gave us discipline, jobs, put structure in our lives, took us out the jungle. And what we do to show our appreciation? We march up and down the street. We vote. Carry on. Ingrates.
And what we do to show our appreciation? March up and down the streets. We vote. Ingrates. White people smell like lemon juice and pledge ready to polish. Uncle Ruckus. So funny.
Hey, whoa, pop.
Yeah, but that's the majority of the people, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's rare. But how big is New York, you know, compared to the world? You know what I'm saying? How big is New York compared to the media and to the structure of the media And once again, to all the fundamental institutions of this country, the history of this country, everybody, we are all slavery and the Indians, yeah, but just the inception of this country. Psychologically, that shit is in everybody's mind. You know what I'm saying? You, no matter how you look at it or when you think about it, psychologically, that's a plus for most people. Like, yo, my ancestors came here, we fucking kicked ass, killed all the Indians, made the blacks do all the work, and we was chilling. You know what I'm saying? We was good. You know what I'm saying? Fought wars. The South tried to uprise, smash that shit. We finally let the slaves go. You know what I'm saying? Abraham Lincoln, you know, JFK, and shit like that. And psychologically, it's a plus. Just because of the history of this fucking place. You know what I'm saying? And to this day, the Western ideology is America is a white country created by white men for white men. That was its intentions. That's the way it was set up and structured. And for the most part, that is the way this country is run currently today. And in order to keep that system in play, you have to galvanize the minds of the citizens to subconsciously understand this and go along with this. And so yeah, there's a lot of separatists in this fucking country, but that's the majority of the people see the problem and don't care. And they understand it's a benefit for them. They understand it's a plus. People try to deny white privilege, and you can't really deny it. And that's a plus. And nobody wants to give that shit up. Nobody wants to be, when you know that you're a little bit more, a little bit better, you don't want to be just equal or even less than.
I want every white person in this room who would be happy to be treated as this society in general treats our citizens, our black citizens. If you, as a white person, would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. You didn't understand the directions. If you white folks want to be treated the way blacks are in this society, stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you. I want to know why you're so willing to accept it or to allow it to happen for others.
And she hurt the whole fucking system with just that question. She hurt the whole fucking system. The system of white supremacy, she pulled it out of everybody and showed it to them in their face. And then now what you gonna do about it? Yeah, you work for yours. No, man, nobody gave you shit. Your first car, you probably had to buy that shit your damn self. When I went to a private high school. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers was driving to high school in 9th grade because their parents got them cars. Oh, you're going to high school. You got your license. We're going to get your car. Nobody got me shit. You know what I'm saying? You probably the same way. Your family probably ain't really had it like that to get you shit. Even if you had a car, you live in the city. You probably took the bus all through high school and everything. You know what I'm saying? Grinding for your shit. I understand that shit. But do you still want to be treated like Alton Sterling? You want to be treated like Trayvon Martin? You want to be treated like Tamir Rice? You know what I'm saying? You want to be treated like Philando Castile? These motherfuckers? Just because the color of your fucking skin? Yeah, you got to work for your shit. But do you want to be treated the way I get treated? You want motherfuckers to look at you all the time? Like I say, I go into Gander Mountain, sporting goods and hunting shit. I'm the only black dude in there. Motherfuckers look side-eyed. Oh my God, there's a nigger in here. Wonder what he's doing. I gotta see what kind of ammo this motherfucker's buying. Oh, he's getting 12 gauge. Oh, he has a fucking shotgun. Gotta watch this guy. Nobody fucking stood up. I doubt if you would too. Honestly, you wouldn't. If the white people in this room, if you want to be treated the same way that people of color are treated in this country, stand up. I don't think y'all heard the question correctly. Let me say it again. If you want to be treated like a black person, stand up. Nobody stood up. That's because they have a sense of privilege. There is something that they understand consciously or subconsciously that gives them just a little edge, some type of edge, whatever it may be. And they understand that. And most people do understand it, but you don't, it's not a constant. It's mostly subconscious, yo. It's mostly a subconscious thought because it's ingrained into the system. This country, once again, was built for you. It was built for white people. You're supposed to feel like you belong here and this is your home, and you're supposed to feel like this is the land of opportunity. I can work towards, peace and prosperity and happiness and everything else. You're supposed to feel that way. And I'm supposed to assume that when I'm walking down the streets of New York and I see two cops, I might get stopped and frisked. You know what I'm saying? That's what I assume. These motherfuckers might ask me for my ID. You can say that, bruh. Jane Elliott, old white lady. She started out with the brown eyes, blue eyes experiment in the fucking late 60s, early 70s because of the assassination of Dr. King. And for some reason, like, he was her champion. And when he got assassinated, she devoted her entire life to breaking down the system of white supremacy and racism. And she's been doing this shit for 40 fucking years.
Of things that have sprung to mind watching it. Do you feel guilty about being white?
Not at all. I didn't choose it. I can't lose it. Why would I feel guilty about it?
Do you think there are things white people should feel guilty about? All white people should feel guilty about?
Behaviors. White behaviors. Yes. But I don't think you do those things because you're white. I think you do those things because you're ignorant.
So you're conditioned to do these things?
Absolutely.
To be racist?
Absolutely. And it works. The conditioning is working. Has worked for a very long time.
Do you think all white people are racist?
I think if you graduated from high school and you aren't a racist, you weren't listening, you should have gotten an F in social studies.
So that's a yes. All white people are racist.
We are conditioned to the myth of white superiority from the moment of our, in fact, before birth, with F in social behaviors. White behaviors, yes. But I don't think you do those things because you're white. I think you do those things because you're ignorant.
So you're conditioned to do these things?
Absolutely.
To be racist?
Absolutely. And it works. The conditioning is working. Has worked for a very long time.
Do you think all white people are racist?
I think if you graduated from high school and you aren't a racist, you weren't listening, you should have gotten an F in social studies.
So that's a yes. All white people are racist.
We are conditioned to the myth of white superiority from the moment of our, in fact, before birth. We are conditioned to the myth of white superiority.
Some people who watched the
Jay Nelly say it's just a conditioning. That's how it is. You're conditioned that way. It's in your religion. It's in your education. It's in politics, policies, and there is no way around being conditioned to be a white supremacist. Even black people are white supremacists. You know what I'm saying? We destroy ourselves because we're told to by the white supremacists, and we go along with the plan. So we're just as much as guilty as the people who implement the plan because we go along with their strategies. Once again, you don't go into the suburbs and see billboards for liquor and beer and all this shit, but come into the hoods. And then why is it like that? Why? Oh, because black people like beer. Well, name one major beer company or anything like that that's owned, operated, and distributed by black people. Yeah, some of these rappers get a vodka. Like all of them had this vodka. Snoop Dogg had a drink. Puff Daddy had a vodka. But those are just a handful of people, and once they put their name on it, they sell that shit off, and they don't have ownership of it after a few years. You know what I'm saying? And they're not producing this shit and distributing this shit. It's all a fucking marketing deal for the most part. Oh, put your name on some kind of liquor. And once again, you're using black celebrities to push this shit back into the communities again. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about all the crime and drugs and everything in the black community, but we don't make anything. So how is it getting there? And why is it getting there? And why is it so advertised there? When you go into the game store, because I'm a big gamer, when you go into the game store, GameStop, and try to buy a new video game, and you look at the covers of all the action adventure games and the puzzle strategy games and the role-playing games, and you got the cool characters who are cops and undercover and cyber techs and all this shit. You know what I'm saying? There's always white people on the covers of even video games. But then you want to see black people on the covers of video games, you got to get the football and basketball. They always got a black person on the front of a football and basketball because that's what black people good at, playing sports. You know what I'm saying? And you think that shit don't send a message to a 8-year-old boy who just wants to play games, right? You know what I'm saying? And he only sees black people playing sports, and all the scientists and engineers and cool astronauts are always white people. You know what I'm saying? And it's conditioning, and everything is conditioned this way. You know what I'm saying? But it's hard to see. That's the only thing. It is hard to see. And like I said, we go right along with it because crack and all that shit in the 80s, but even coming up with the fucking chemical compound for cocaine and goddamn the process to turn that shit into freebase or crack cocaine, the process it takes to take a coca leaf and to turn that shit into some powdered cocaine, black people don't do that shit. We don't do that. We don't have that shit in the hood. That shit coming from somewhere else, but it always finds its way into our communities. And we don't even make this shit. You know what I'm saying? We ain't come up with none of these processes or nothing, but we get addicted to that shit, though. Once again, tobacco, all these blunt wraps and flavored this and Swisher Sweets and all these shits. Name one black family that owns a major tobacco distribution company. But that shit is always in the fucking hood, selling their products to us. Here you go, niggas, smoke this shit. But you can sell it legally on the market, but then once I purchase it and it's in my vehicle, now it's a motherfucking some contraband shit. You know, I said, so you got some blunts in your car. Well, shit, the white man make the shit, but I can't even have the shit on me. You know what I'm saying? It's weird when you see this, how it's structured. And you look at fucking Nazi Germany, and they took the Jews out of their own communities, and where did they put the Jews at? That shit happened to my cousin, man. My cousin, like I said, one of my uncles is white. My aunt married a white man. They've been together almost 30 years. They got 2 kids. Their kids one of them out of college, one of them about to be out of college. But my little cousin, when he was in high school, you know what I'm saying, he mixed. You know, dad white, mom black, but he has a tan skin. He looked Middle Eastern. This boy, I fuck with him all the time. Yo, like, yo, you Arab looking motherfucker. Motherfucker look like a Arab, yo. but anyway, he was dating this white girl, like straight up white girl, and her parents were cool with it. You know what I'm saying? No problem. I even drop him off at his girl house sometimes, pick him up from over there, or drive both of them to band practice or whatever. And one time he was at his girlfriend's house chilling, and grandma just happened to be there. And grandma started asking all kind of questions and made him uncomfortable, yo. And he left. And goddamn, he broke up. You know what I'm saying? That shit caused so much tension that he broke up. He was like, well, who's this kid? Why does he look like that? You're not white. What are your parents? Oh, your mom's black? But why are you dating my granddaughter? And da-da-da-da-da. And it was like, yo, what the fuck, son? That shit fucked with him real bad, yo. You know what I'm saying? Shit fuck with him real bad. But it's like, dude, and it comes from them older generations, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, her parents were cool with it, and I don't even know which mom it was. Was it the mom's mother or the father's mother? But one of them grew up in the household like that. You know what I'm saying? Some people can break the cycle and not really mind their kids, you know, dating outside of the race or having different friends, but you know what I'm saying, and that's the shit like that. I know that I witnessed firsthand shit like that, how that shit really affected my own family. You know what I'm saying, because he mixed, and it's fucked up, and this shit still goes on. You know what I'm saying, it's still in this culture, and it's so fucking ingrained in the culture, in the society, and it's. Like Jane Elliott said, man, it's brainwashing, yo. You're conditioned. Everybody is conditioned to see the world a certain way. The people who run this shit, they have a vision of how it should be, and they overlay this vision on every fucking sense that we have. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's tight here.
All right, because they were talking some crazy ass shit about. Oh, I did want to finish listening to that though. Let me see.
No matter when you retire.
Yeah, so they're talking about police calls over just living while black, and this has been like an epidemic lately too. Like it's been. So damn, I don't know if I should start this shit all the way back over, and the first guy says like, look, man, all I was doing is moving into my new apartment. I'm moving my shit in. I got the lease. It's in my name. My water is on. My lights are on. I just got to move my shit in because I'm moving to my new apartment. So he's moving his shit in to his new apartment. And somebody in the building calls the cops. There's some guy, I think he's breaking in. He probably has a gun on him. And it's like, what, bitch? I'm just moving my shit in. How are you calling the cops saying I'm breaking into the building? It's like, holy shit, yo. The lady with the barbecue grill. Oh, they're barbecuing using charcoal. Police. The girl fell asleep in the dorm, and it's like, how many other, like, my neighbor has done this shit to me before. I live next to a white dude, and he has a rebel flag on his fucking, rebel flag license plate on his fucking car and shit. And his kids are opening the door, like, we park side by side. So his kids open the door. You know how kids open the car door all the way there. They're smashing my fucking car. And I'm getting fucking scratches on the side of my car. So I go over there, knock on the door, say, look, man. Because my girl already said it one time. Because they did it to her car. Then they did it to my car. So I went over there, knocked on the door. I said, look, man, my girl already told you, I don't know if it's you or your kids, but can y'all take it easy? Opening your doors when you park so close or park somewhere else because you're scratching our vehicles. Now, she said something to you. Now I'm saying something to you because you're damaging my property. Now, I'm asking you to stop. And if you don't stop, we need to do something to rectify this problem because there is going to be a solution. I don't have time to talk to you right now. You don't have to talk to me. All you need to do is listen. Stop damaging my property. You have a good day. 10 minutes later, 4 police officers at my door. We got a report. Your neighbor said you came over and threatened him. What? This motherfucker said I threatened him? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. What's your name, sir? It was this rookie cop. He had his pad out like this, a little yellow pad with a pencil on it. You know what I'm saying? He's like, what's your name? I looked at the pad. You already got my name written down. Oh yeah. You thought you just want to see if I was gonna lie, right? That's what you try to do. Come on, man. Get your rookie ass the fuck out of here, man. Motherfucker got my name written on the pad. So what's your name? Like, bitch, you got my name written down, man. How this motherfucker know my name anyway? And I say, what's the problem? Yo, these motherfuckers parking too close to me, scratching my car. I told them don't scratch my car. Okay. And that was it. Like, come on, man. Motherfuckers called the cops over dumb shit. You thought that shit was about to get me locked up or something? About to get me beat up by the fucking police? But it could have. You know what I'm saying? If I act irrationally, or if I act like I'm scared or nervous, or if I'm high on drugs or something, you know what I'm saying? Then the cops, what's wrong with you? Show us your hands. Take your hands out your pockets. You know what I'm saying? But shit, I know how to act around police for the most part. Long as you don't put your hands on me like everybody else say. Look, I haven't committed a crime. Just don't fucking touch me. You know what I'm saying? Don't touch me. I walked outside, closed my door because y'all ain't coming in my house. So what you need to talk about? I'll talk to you. I ain't about to ignore you. I ain't about to peek out the blinds and say go away and get a search warrant and all this other shit. What you want? What you want? Your neighbor said you threatened him. Ain't nobody threatened that motherfucker, man. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, rebel flag rolling motherfucker.
So what exactly happened? So about halfway through my move, I'm tired, I'm moving boxes up and down, I get into the lobby. And I look at the door, and I see blue and white, I see police. I look to my left, I look to my right, and I looked inside, I'm like, they're here for me.
What's the problem? I live here. I'm going to do an investigation further. What are you guys investigating? Listen.
They immediately start asking me, who are you? What are you doing here? Then they play the dispatch. Responding to someone banging on doors, has a weapon on them.
We doing our job, that's it. Who called you? If you do nothing wrong, you good to go. Who called you? Someone called us.
This was somebody in the building who did not want me there. People don't realize the consequences of their actions. When you profile and you act on that profiling, you're reporting a crime. A reporting a crime that may not be in process. The only crime that you saw...
The crime was living while black.
Living while black. In this case, moving while black.
Welcome back. So many of these incidents start with one simple phone call to the police, which is presumably there to protect and serve.
But in a world where folks are encouraged to say something if they see something, the question is, when should people call the cops?
With us now is Larry Krasner, the district attorney for Philadelphia. Also, Philip Atiba Goff, professor in policing equity at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and Tim Wise, an anti-racist educator and the author of the forthcoming book, White Lies, or White Lives Matter, Race, Crime, and the Politics of Fear.
I listen to Tim Wise a lot too. He's like the male version of Jane Elliott, yo. And he's a white dude. Well, people get on him because they say you're Jewish. You're not even white. You're a Jew. And he's like, dude, if me and you stand in a room and there's some Mexicans and some black people, and then somebody points out the white guys, they're gonna point at both of us, dude. I'm just as white as you is, and I don't understand this Jewish shit anyway. Because Judaism is not a race. Jewish is not a race. I don't understand why people are like, oh, it's the Jews. The Jews. We gotta kill the Jews, man. Those are fucking some Germans. That's all.
America. Now, we're hearing plenty of stories about everyday racism from the perspective of the black experience. But these interactions actually have two parties. Filmmaker Whitney Dow has been exploring these issues in a documentary series called The Whiteness Project, in which he talks to white Americans about race.
I think about race a lot. I do feel a common bond with other white people because that's primarily who I find myself being around.
I feel more comfortable around more people my race. I hate that it's like that, but it is. I think it's a lot. We're more comfortable around each other because it doesn't seem. And
he's not. This dude is tripping me out
because
he's not saying I. He's saying we. Listen to him. There is a collective thought. You know what I'm saying? A generalized collective thought there.
Who I find myself being around.
I feel more comfortable around more people my race. I hate that it's like that, but it is. I think it's a lot. We're more comfortable around each other because we. It doesn't seem, and I may be wrong, it doesn't seem that there's as many whites that are out doing crimes and murdering and causing trouble and doing a lot of those things.
And filmmaker Whitney.
So we just gonna forget that the white dude in Texas a couple months ago was leaving bombs on people's doorsteps and he blew up 3 people. You know what I'm saying? Black people don't do no shit like that, man. That's some crazy, insane, violent, terroristic shit. I'm gonna just make a bomb, leave this shit on a random black person doorstep, see what happens. You know what I'm saying? That's fucking crazy. But it doesn't seem like, you know, white people are going out just committing all these crimes and stuff. Like, how can you not say it seems that way, dude? Like, what the fuck?
Joins us now. And Whitney, I wonder if you could talk about the process of getting white people, frankly, to talk about race and how you get them comfortable enough to be open and honest about issues of race and racial bias.
Well, I think white people are desperate to talk about race. I think white people don't know how to have that conversation. And when you create an environment where they can actually talk honestly about it and talk about how they feel, how they that they really, really want to have the conversation.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how much of the way that they react to people of color is rooted in sort of, in your view, misinformation. You've heard the last guy say, well, black people are committing the crimes, right? And how much of it is sort of learned behavior, and in your view, how much of it is outright bias?
Well, I mean, I think there's an incredible amount of fear, and I think there's a lot of outright bias. But actually, I've been thinking a lot about this. I think that I just came back from Wyoming, where I spent about a week interviewing 50 white people and partially white people talking about their experience living in an almost all white community. But I think that what is really interesting to me is that they're in a community where there's almost no people of color, and all the information they get is from the media. So the media, they're seeing over and over again these images. And one of the things I've been thinking a lot about is that all these videos that have come out showing police attacking people of color, and that have kind of finally let white people understand and see in reality how black people experience the police, but they're also doing something else. They're also showing on a loop black people involved with the police. And for a certain segment of society, that actually triggers them and says, look, this is actually true, that black people have more interactions with police than white people.
You were just shaking your head, Philip. I mean, you do this work with police departments around trying to get officers to think in a sort of different way, and with people in general about when they're calling the cops.
No, that's exactly right, and Whitney is exactly right. Some of the benefit of exposure here is that it's waking America up to what black communities have been dealing with since black communities have been communities in the United States. But he's also right that the learned association of black plus police plus black plus police, that's how you form implicit biases, right? And absolutely, when they go unchecked, implicit biases become explicit action.
Can you? I'm curious to hear from you. You're the district attorney here in Philadelphia. You're doing something very interesting. You're ran on a reform agenda. You're trying to sort of transform the vision for what that office of prosecutor looks like. What's the answer to the question of when someone should call the cops?
You know, the difficulty is that as people feel suspicion, they're tapping into their biases, and it is not a situation in which most people have no bias. The truth is we're constantly bombarded with bias, with prejudice. It's almost like fighting germs to try to keep these away from us. It takes a certain amount of work. So the difficulty is when you have a society, as we do, which has an incredibly high level of incarceration, extreme involvement of police in fairly everyday things, and unfortunately, to their detriment, a lot of police have become the first responders for mental health issues, for family disputes. You know, it used to be that if there was a fight in the schoolyard, this was a disciplinary matter, and that turned into a school-to-prison pipeline. Well, in the same way, just normal disagreements and disputes and curiosities in society have turned into individuals making phone calls because, frankly, they find the race of the person they're watching to be inherently suspicious. So it's a problem, and it does require the participation of everyone, not to tap into their biases and to look at what's really happening.
Yeah, and Tim, for a lot of black people, the idea of the police is, quite frankly, intimidating, frightening. The idea of calling the cops on someone is sort of almost threatening, right?
Right.
But for white Americans who are comfortable with the police, it seems like a problem. It seems like a solution to this person who shouldn't be here.
I like how you look at me like I'm comfortable with police. You know me better now.
I do.
Well, here's the thing. White America has been raised to believe, A, the police are always the good guys, and frankly, that black lives matter less than white comfort. And until we deal with that, until we deal with the reality, because here's the problem.
Tell him, Tim. Yeah, Tim like a white preacher.
When a white person calls the police on a person of color over a barbecue in a park, sleeping in a common room at Yale, sitting at the Starbucks or whatever it is, knowing that Tamir Rice's life was snuffed because someone called the cops on a 12-year-old boy playing with a toy gun. Something that white boys do all across this country without fear of being shot. And that's a national story. You can't tell me you didn't know that happened. When John Crawford is called, the cops called on him at the Walmart, also in the state of Ohio, not to pick on Ohio, and he's standing there with an air rifle that he pulled off the shelf at Walmart.
He shot his ass dead
or whatever,
in the Walmart.
The cops are called on him. They come, they shoot him. When you know that is what happens, what you are saying is, my discomfort with you right now is worth more than the potential that your life could be snuffed in 10 minutes. Until that stops, nothing is going to change.
I'll call the cops, and when they get here, they might kill you. Because I'm uncomfortable. And if they do kill you, fucking well.
Someone napping in a common room, it's like, you can just talk to the person. Like, you don't have to. The discomfort is so intense, right? The discomfort is so intense that rather than be like, hey, what's up? Like, to whoever you want to have a conversation with, you're going to call 911, an emergency line, to report something.
That's exactly so. One of the things that I will never forget about one of the first conversations I had with the police chief was the thing that would make my job so much easier is if everybody just took social relations classes. Because almost 90% of the things that my officers are getting called for are things that you could just go up and have a conversation if you weren't so scared of your neighbors. And the rest of it, right, that causes so much terror amongst the community is stuff that police could never be trained for, right? So the chief that was telling telling me this, right? Former chief in Salt Lake City says, you shouldn't call me and my officers unless you want an armed response. Because while we get training in mental health, we get training in substance abuse, we get training in family planning, we are also trained in deadly force. If you don't want it, then don't call for it.
And you know, you also have the issue of police officers who exhibit fear toward the people that they're stopping, the Philando Castillo case. So I wonder why there isn't some sort of legal prohibition against a nuisance call, calling the police for something that isn't a crime.
You call me out here for what? That's a $400 fine on your dumb ass for calling the cops.
Although we have to admit,
motherfucker do that shit about 2-3 times a year. Ain't nobody calling the cops for no dumb shit.
What we're talking about is ingrained bias. It is prejudice that is breathed in.
You call me out here, and there is no crime.
Fundamentally, you are talking about society.
$400 fine, just like calling the goddamn ambulance or the fire truck.
To subject someone who is other, and that could very well be a mentally ill person or a person of color, or someone who is in any other way presumed to be, you know, threatening because of youth or whatever it may be. You're subjecting them to incredible dangers in a militarized police system.
Well, and there's also the fact that there's a policing model in this country, and you know, it started with broken windows policing in New York City in the 1990s. It's spread everywhere, which is that part of policing is quality of life, right? And quality of life is I feel uncomfortable. Right. That's the definition of quality of life. I mean, literally, and your office and the offices of district attorneys around this country are processing thousands and thousands and thousands of people a day who are doing things like breakdancing on the subway or selling M&Ms or something like that.
Well, fortunately, fewer here than some other places, but yes, there's no question that a lot of what has been done traditionally is that kind of prosecution. It's the little stuff. It tends to be something that picks on people who are in poor neighborhoods, often black and brown. It tends to be ignoring massive crimes committed at a white-collar level by prosperous people and by corporations. That is the nature, unfortunately, of what prosecutors have done for a long time, is that they have been the face of a government that is going to treat certain people a bad way.
Yeah, and I do have to ask before we go.
That's something else, too, like the level of crime. I be looking at that shit. Motherfuckers like, okay, the motherfucker selling Lucy's on the corner, that's against the law. You ain't supposed to sell loose cigarettes. We understand that. This motherfucker got choked out and lost his fucking life. The other boy, he was selling DVDs. Okay, man, you really not supposed to sell DVDs. But this motherfucker got shot to death. But then, goddamn, you got the Fannie Mae's and all these motherfuckers, man, and Merrill Lynch's and all these cats and corporate execs at motherfucking Wells Fargo and all this shit stealing millions of dollars. Millions. You know what I'm saying? And y'all getting on this motherfucker because he making, $10 off a pack of cigarettes. Making motherfucking, a $2-3 profit off some goddamn bootleg DVDs or some shit. This, you know what I'm saying, tax free, all that shit, but you know what I'm saying, it take y'all years to catch these motherfuckers, and then they just, you just go to jail, Martha Stewart, all that shit, do a little jail time, you get out. Motherfucker ain't gonna get choked to death or shot to death. You know what I'm saying? And that's major crime, major money theft. Taking motherfucking hedge funds accounts and goddamn pyramid schemes and all this shit, man. It's fucking their investors out of their money and shit. But it just seems like it just seems like black people do more crimes. It's really.
We're going to break back, Tim, because how much of this is also about gentrification? Because we've had issues where a neighborhood where somebody who would have been familiar to the residents now is unfamiliar to people who've moved in and now are uncomfortable in the process.
Right. Well, the irony is the gentrifiers of today, their parents or their grandparents ran away from the city to get away from black and brown folk. And now their children and their grandchildren are saying, oh, the suburbs, there's only so many Olive Gardens I can go to, so I need to go back to the city and get my life in the city. But when I do that, I need to have my hot yoga studio and my pottery studio and my stuff represented. And if you intrude on that, I will then call the police. This is all part of a larger problem. We cannot solve it just in the prosecutor's offices. We have to look at it as a housing issue and education issue. All of that.
Phil Adott and Larry Krasner, thank you both, gentlemen. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, and much more from Philadelphia. coming up, including what is the path forward?
I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.
$782? That's a great deal. Liberty Mutual? That's a great company.
Tates here. We've received so much more clarification on Fallout 76 than we ever needed thanks to the No Clip documentary, which I highly recommend checking out, as well as some random interviews from around E3. I honestly was kind of worried about the state of the game since the Bethesda press conference opened so many questions, but they have all been answered. So today I'm going to run through each awesome little point of information that's been gathered about Fallout 76, which should quench your lust for more information and cure your always online blues. We also have some more footage actually to show off, so this could shape up to be an amazing game. Let's begin. So you can play fully by yourself, but at launch there won't be any private servers. They fully believe in the idea of sharing maps with other players in Fallout 76, but that doesn't mean there won't be private maps in the future. There's also a main story and tons of quests, but they want this game to be about, you know, what you want to do at any given day. So maybe you want to go and hunt down a really rare component for a crafting project, or maybe you want to explore a new region, or maybe you want to set up a new camp, or maybe you want to kill a creature for those drops. They don't want to restrict you in what you need to be doing. Maybe you want to go out and tackle one of the events that occur randomly in the world. Yeah, there's events. An example was there was a horde of super mutants attacking a farm, so you get notified and try to save everyone, and they want you to meet other players trying to do the same thing. They don't know what's going to happen, and they seem okay with that. An example was given, maybe you see 10-year-old guy come because someone has trained them in from across the map. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it sounds pretty cool. In addition to the camps that you can build anywhere with, there's also public workshops that have to be claimed. These are specific locations in the world that you need to clear out, and once you take them, there could be events that spawn near you. But they could also contain useful crafting resources. An example given was that a mine once claimed allows you to get regular income of lead. Lead you can use to make bullets and some other things. Being able to make your own bullets is actually really valuable in Fallout and potentially to other players. Your camp is potentially smaller than any of the other settlements that you build in Fallout 4, but can be placed anywhere on the map. So if you join a new game, your camp will automatically be where you left it, but by some miracle, two people have their camps in exactly the same spot. They stress it's very unlikely due to a player limit of 20 to 30 people and an enormous map, which is 4 times the size of Fallout 4. It would be served as a blueprint, so you can put it down anywhere you want. You don't lose your camp. Although there are restrictions where you can place your camp, but you can place it almost anywhere. One example that was given was you can't place it right outside Vault 76 because they don't want anyone to grief brand new players. It's good to know that they're thinking about griefing. So crafting is a big part of the game. You'll be able to craft guns, ammo, mods, armor, food, power armor, everything that you could craft in Fallout 4 and a lot more. They want you playing to hunt down rare materials to craft that next big item. So talking about how they want survival elements to be a big part of the game but never tedious or boring, they say, I have to brush my teeth every day or they'll rot and fall out of my head. I do not want that in a video game, I just don't care. It's good to see them say that, honestly. Though you have to eat and drink to survive in Fallout 76. Just imagine that someone stumbled into a herd of cats and they said they've never been happy.
Bring home the seafood you crave with Red Lobster to go. Call or order online today.
Here to see cats because it meant they could eat. That's the feeling they want to capture. So food rots over time and your gear degrades and must be repaired, which is another reason to go out in the world and gather resources. But rads are different. They cause mutations. So the higher your rad count, the greater the odds that you'll get a mutation. And they're like traits from Fallout 2, where you get a buff to one thing and a penalty to something else. They can be cured if you don't like them, and in the late game, you can become permanently mutated if there's something you really like. Most mutations are stats or gameplay changes, but some are visual. You'll be able to actually sell your items to other players. Because crafting is such a big part of the game, they want to make crafting specialization to be worthwhile and powerful. You can spec into cooking and make valuable food that other players might be willing to pay for. And we can see if you go down the intelligence tree that there's actually a bonus to crafting. I was worried about how attributes and perks would work in Fallout 76, but it seems like perk cards completely replace the perk chart from Fallout 4. Every single time you level up, you can take a new perk card. Perk cards are actually divided among the special attributes, and you can have a limited amount active at one time. You can swap your active cards out when you want and can share them with other players in your group. This incentivizes group coordination, and you can specialize in one thing and your friend specialize in something else. For example, one person in your group might be focused on survival stuff like crafting and cooking, and someone else might be geared up for combat, and another might be spec'd into building awesome defenses for your settlement, and maybe the last is built as a medic to help heal the rest of the team. In terms of crafting food, you'll find recipes all over the world to help you make new stuff, and there are orders of magnitude more recipes in 76 than Fallout 4, and most of the items you craft have a bonus of some kind or a negative of some kind that might make you more susceptible to disease, for example, but give you a huge health buff. They're still thinking of adding things into the game, and one such idea is to let you set up a robot vendor in a hub area so you can sell items to other players who visit that hub. It's not confirmed, but because the game is alive, they're able to make these decisions and add them in. So now we come to griefing. There are anti-griefing measures in place. They don't want the game to be too chaotic. Aggressive players will get a wanted level, and the penalty for death is only respawning at a nearby location. So you won't worry too much about dying, and they will worry a little bit about killing too many people. So there are different ways in the game to communicate with other players, including that emote wheel that you saw, as well as voice chat and a photo mode. And how many people can be in the game at once? They say 24 to 32. It was apparently a challenge deciding on how many players would be in the game, but they didn't want people to frequently bump into each other. They wanted meeting another player to feel special, so it had to be infrequent. One thing I don't like, though, is that players will be visible on the map at all times, and in their words, for good or ill. They want you to be able to see other players doing an event or quest and then go along and help them, or maybe even attack them. Although, again, there are anti-griefing measures in place that the developers will tune as the game goes on. You can immediately join your friends in their session or invite them to yours. The party size is currently 4, although you can adjust that. They're aiming for a 4-person co-op gameplay, but they also want to have bigger conflicts like 12 versus 12 death matches, so they'll wait and see what happens. They're always working on new content, and right now they're working on the team deathmatch mode that I just mentioned for players who really want a different challenge. So nukes. Everybody's complaining about nukes, but apparently they're just endgame content that require you to play through the game's full story and complete repeatable quests to find launch codes. There's a story there that the Scorched Beasts, the giant bat things, are crawling up from under the ground, and you can seal the fissures with nuclear strikes. They're hard to access, and it will not be used constantly by a ton of players. Nukes are apparently not a griefing device. Their function is to create high-level areas which you want on the map, so you're kind of incentivized not to do this in a populated area because you want to be the first one to get there and plunder them. If you stay too long in it, you'll die, so you can quickly and easily repair damage if you're nuked, or you can simply join another session. This, in addition to nukes being very hard to acquire and potentially valuable with their rewards, makes them pretty much impossible to grief with. It's very challenging and time-consuming to attain the code to actually launch a nuke. It requires you to play through most, if not all, of the main story, and then complete a repeatable quest until you have every part of the code. Because of the opportunity this presents and the time investment, players aren't going to be dropping nukes right on other players, because by doing so, you've effectively wasted your limited time reward by dropping a high-level loot-rich area on somebody else. The kind of loot you can get is legendary items, which was in Fallout 4. And places you nuke are excellent to farm legendary items. Eventually, the nuked area will return to its pre-nuke state. Depending on where you nuke, you'll find different things inhabiting the area because different areas have different flora and fauna. So yes, you can nuke other players, and if your settlement is nuked, you can easily repair the damage, because again, the nukes aren't a griefing device. How would VATS work in a game that's always online with other players? You can't stop time? Well, it functions in real time. You'll have to be snappier about lining up your shots, but you can still build your characters specialised in VATS, and it's great for players who want to rely on their character skill more than their own. There's mods and private lobbies confirmed, but it will be post-launch. Since Fallout 3, there's always been a delay between release and official mod support, and 76 will be no different. Their main focus is to launch the game at its base, running as well as it can, and then sometime later they will add private lobbies that can be modded, and like every other Bethesda game, they said they're 100% committed to this, and it's going to happen. So how do you get quests if there's just human players? Well, apparently there's a lot of robots for quest givers, and there's a ton of quests scattered around the world, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see to find out more, but there will be quests that you can get from exploring. The two Fallout 76 leads worked on Star Wars Galaxies, The Old Republic, and Ultima Online between them both, and the lead programmer for 76 was the lead for Star Wars Galaxies. They seem to be experts when it comes to building multiplayer, and they, quote, painstakingly rebuilt the engine from the ground up to support multiplayer. So I mentioned the map being 4 times bigger than Fallout 4. This is because they have new tech that allows them to render longer distances, and they wanted lots of space to explore. So West Virginia was chosen because it was still East Coast, and they wanted a place that would be almost completely untouched by nukes. It would give them the opportunity to have living forests and tons of different wildlife and more diversity than normal when it comes to different regions on the map. And also because they dug deeply into the folklore of West Virginia and found there were so many cool like conspiracy theories, monsters and creatures that could have been part of the state's history, and they felt like it was a perfect match for Fallout 76. You saw the Grafton monster already, and the Flatwood monster, and the Snarlygaster, and the Mothman, which we've all talked about before. So Mothman specifically is a unique creature that they don't want to spoil, other than saying that there will be stages to him. So they say maybe at the beginning he's just stalking you. That sounds pretty scary to me. So there are way more creatures in 76 than other Fallout games. Those mentioned were giant sloths, which we saw already in the gameplay trailer, and 2-headed possums, and intelligent plants. So mutated creatures are more dramatic because it's so soon after the bombs fell and the radiation is at its most powerful. They like to think that not all of their creatures would be able to survive to the time period where the other Fallout games are set, so it makes sense in a prequel that we don't see some of these creatures again. Raiders are not in the game, and that kind of makes sense given the time period, but the most important reason is that they found with Raiders, players would spend a lot of time just trying to discern whether or not it was a hostile human or a player AI. They didn't really want this, so they created a fraction of half-feral ghouls called the Scorch, who are hostile, but still sane enough to use weapons and armor. So that will be the main gun combat with the AI in the game, which is described as a central pillar of the Fallout experience. The map is huge, but apparently there's 6 distinct regions in the game which are all different, and all have different difficulty levels for natural progression. They mentioned a hollowed out mountaintop, soggy floodlands, a festering toxic wasteland, swampy woods, and a colossal mountain range that bisects the entire map. Each of those regions will have their own weather, and there's a new weather system that can encourage or deter you from entering a specific area. Maybe you want to head to the mountains, but there's a major radstorm sweeping through it right now, and it's much more dangerous to do so. We talked about the size of the map, but there is a lot of open space, which means when you find something, they want it to feel like it's something that's been hidden away from the world for a long time. Apparently there are tons of different places you can find that are hidden away, some of which that were mentioned were everything from quiet cabins to abandoned wood mills to treetop watchtowers, flooded mines, and abandoned barbecue joints. You can also find whole abandoned cities and towns like in previous Fallout games. There are also missile silos and crashed space stations apparently. So the world is larger and more detailed than any previous game, and this is due to the massive engine improvement. New systems for propagating forests and vastly improved dynamic lighting modules and surface scattering and far more complex animations for creatures have all been rolled out. Creatures need to react to being attacked by multiple players at once, which is one of the challenges they face making a multiplayer game. In terms of the map, you start in a relatively nice green area that's not very hostile, but they showed off another hostile area which was full of factories, and it seemed like the chemicals had spilled out and made a nasty white powder over everything, and it seems like there's a lot of vertical landmarks. There's more verticality than you would have ever experienced in a Fallout game. There's also apparently more clothing than ever, and you have to discover a lot in a specific spot. An example they give is there's a real-life town called Helvetica, just like the font, which is home to a festival where they make paper mache masks. They made 10 of them for you to find when you visit the town in Fallout 76. So a lot of stories and quests you find will be the locational stories that we see as unmarked quests in previous Fallout games. An example given is the firehouse in Charleston, and if you go there you'll find a firefighter gear and take a firefighter training course, and they want you to explore and discover these things yourself with your friends. So what happens after release? It seems like their Austin studio will be in charge of supporting the game for years to come, but unfortunately microtransactions will be a thing. It's acknowledged as an unfortunate reality of supporting both dedicated servers and free post-launch content for everybody. But thankfully, it's only purely cosmetic. Anything you can purchase with microtransactions will also be able to be attained for free by playing the game. One good thing though is all DLC and updates will be free. The plan is that the Awesome team will be working half on regular content updates and the other part to be working on larger content drops. So you get frequent smaller updates, new events, free items, with some examples, and then major content updates every so often. That's the plan, and they'll have to make adjustments based on what players like and don't like. The best thing is, if they make something they really like and the players don't, they won't double down on it. Instead, they'll embrace the stuff that players do like. So I just slapped you all with a ton of information at once, and I'm kind of surprised you made it this far. What do you all think? Tell me in the comments. Most of my concerns are gone, and if progression doesn't make your character into a blank canvas that means that you can be anyone and swap out any skill and everything at all times, then I'll be happy with what I've heard so far. My reservations are quelled, and for now, I look forward to seeing more. Thanks for watching, guys. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and click that little bell below. And if you haven't already, be sure to join my Discord. It's full of fantastic, like-minded individuals, and you get to talk to me directly as well. So, I'm Potates, and I'll see you next time.
Fallout 76. Who getting that? I might get that shit though. I gotta take a piss.
Seattle.
You must be. I mean, because you're here, right? You feel tremors. They happen all the time, right? I've only been a few times when I felt tremors.
Not all the time. I've felt them before. The biggest ones I ever felt was when I first moved here. I first moved here in '94, and it was right after the Northridge earthquake.
Yeah.
And I was in my house, and I felt. I guess it was like a 5.5, where the whole thing just. It was weird. Like, it gave me the impression that the house that I was living in, or the apartment that I was in, was made out of the same stuff
like a box that a refrigerator would come in. You
Yeah.
know how like, you kind of move it around?
Yeah, you
That's
gotta
what it's
play
like.
inside. Yeah.
The whole thing was just moving like easily left and right. I was like, holy shit.
Well, that was I've only had a few times that I've felt one. I'm like, it's at first I thought it was a truck. I thought a truck was rolling by.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and somebody's like, no, man, that was an earthquake.
And the one that I experienced was nothing. I mean, it's a baby one. The ones that they're getting, right now somewhere in the world. I mean, there's always something that's like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah. So this goes back to your point about the, a lot of planets, right, will be like way more plate tectonically active.
Volatile.
Yeah, than ours. So, I think good planets are going to be like really hard to find.
Yeah.
So, that may be the solution. The other solution is, the way you guys found out about it was I did that article about the previous civilization. How do you know whether or not there was a previous civilization on Earth? And, one solution could be that, look, they were here. That somebody did arrive and spent some time on Earth. But if it was like 500 million years ago, and they only lasted, right, every civilization has a finite lifetime. They only lasted for, even a few 100,000 years, they wouldn't leave. There'd be no record left.
There would be nothing left.
There'd be nothing left.
Do you think that's possible, that something's ever visited here? Because that is the big question, and that's the thing that gets the UFO dorks more jazzed up than anything is the possibility that we've been visited.
Yeah, I'm definitely not UFOs. I have two arguments against UFOs. One is as a friend of mine, Jason Wright, says, is like, look, as astronomers, man, we're finding all those asteroids. We're finding little chunks of rock moving. Nobody looks at the sky harder than we do, right? And if anything, unless you want to go to the conspiracy theories, we would have found something. My other argument is like, what's with the headlights? You know what I mean? People are always like, oh man, I saw lights in the sky, and then they moved around, and then they disappeared, but they don't really want to be seen. I'm like, well, why do they have headlights on? Like, why just turn off the freaking lights?
Why would they have lights in the first place?
Why do they have lights? Like what? You came from another civilization and you can't get around without your high beams?
The idea is, what the fuck are you seeing with those lights? Right. You're not seeing shit.
Yeah, right.
When was the last time you saw, planes have lights so other planes don't run into them. They don't have lights so they can see where they're going.
Yeah, so what? So why do they have, right, exactly. Yeah. The planes have lights so other people can see them. So if they're but they're mysterious, they don't want to be found, then turn off the freaking lights. So.
Well, they wouldn't have any lights. Right. Yeah, they always have lights.
Yeah, that's it. People are always saying like, oh man, I saw lights in the sky, and then they move back and forth, and so I just think
also the problem with human memory. Memory is horrible.
Yeah,
and memory of events that are stunning, or shocking, or unnerving, or you think you saw something.
Right, they've done all that research, even in trials, right, where people, see things going. So just UFOs, just kind of like.
But do you think it's possible that there could be life on other planets, and it's possible that there could be intelligent life on other planets, and we send probes to Mars? Why wouldn't? And I think that if they do send something here, they're going to send something without biological life inside of it.
Yeah, this. What's a really interesting question is like, we're talking about like what will we evolve into in a million years. It may be possible that biology is a short period of intelligence.
Yeah,
like you build machines. And the machines become, you download yourself into them. I mean, that's a real possibility that, silicon makes a lot more sense than wetware.
Well, the problem is we think of artificial intelligence as artificial.
Right.
It's definitely real.
Right. Yeah, no, that's exactly it.
It's not fake. It's right there.
Right.
It's like there's artificial milk. You know what I mean? But it's a liquid. It's an actual liquid.
Yeah.
There's not an artificial life. It's just silicon created life.
Right. And that's again the idea that the biosphere. This may be what the biosphere solution to spreading itself.
Right.
To getting it. Maybe that silicon. That's a kind of a normal phase. I mean, I am super skeptical about the whole transhuman thing about we're going to download ourselves into intelligence. Into computers.
Have you ever gone to one of those conventions? And talked to those dorks?
No. There's a pretty serious dorking going on there.
Well, there's geniuses in those dorks too. It's really interesting. It's like. They're fully, wholly committed to this prospect of downloading themselves. Have you talked to Kurzweil before?
No, but I've read his stuff.
I had a chance to interview him a few years back for Sci-Fi.
He's super smart. That dude is
beyond
super smart.
But goddamn, is he committed to it? And then when you get to it, you realize that what he actually wants to do is recreate his father. Yeah, his father died when he was young. And he wants to be able to, through memories and photographs and what he knows about his father, literally recreate his father be able to have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
And he was talking about this.
Right.
But what he's doing is he's going way, way into the future, into the possibilities of. He's not seeing 5 years from now we're going to be able to send gigabyte pictures to the man. No, he's saying
let's think of if you keep going exponentially and electronics and technology and innovation keeps continually accelerating, we could potentially get to the point where it's the impossible. Well, you would be able to recreate human beings based on your knowledge of them, and they'll be able to come up with some sort of a program where he'll be able to have a conversation with his father.
Yeah, see, I think that I mean, I think it's it's true about like the possibility of a singularity in technological development. But, it's not going to be his father. That's the sad thing, you know? I think we seriously, I've done some work on this as an interest of mine about mind. What is mind, What's the relationship between mind and matter? And I think we have, like, a serious misunderstanding. We don't understand consciousness very well at all. So the idea that, like, oh, yeah, it's just going to be trivial to download your, your consciousness into a computer, I think it's pretty, there's, like, a shitload of assumptions in there about, like, what mind is and the relationship between, like, your neurons and awareness. Yeah. So that's why I think those guys. It's a little bit of a religion. You know what I mean?
It is a little bit of a religion.
Transcend, and so it's like.
Well, 2045 is the new benchmark for whatever reason. That's the new number.
They're going to keep pushing back. It's going to be like every other, every other rapture. Oh, we thought it was 2045. We really meant 2065.
Well, we went to this 2045 conference. Me and my friend Ari and Duncan, and we got to talk to some of these guys, and it's really fascinating. And one of them had created some robot that was supposed to be him, but it didn't work well, so they never revealed it at the conference. It had too many bugs in it.
Yeah.
But it's intriguing. It's like I want them to keep going. Because, I mean, when are we going to get to Ex Machina? When are we going to get
to... Talk about good movies, though. Did you like that
one? One of my favorite movies ever.
So smart. So, like, simple. He's not beating you over the head with it. It's
no cut-the-shit moments in that movie.
Yeah, no.
You were like, whoa. I think that's one of my all-time, top 20 movies.
When she stabs him, just emotionless. Just like, I'm putting the blade in.
It was amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, right. Did you like Annihilation?
Yes.
I liked it a lot too.
I didn't like it as much, but I liked it. It was very weird, and the ending seemed like some producers put their jizz in the soup. It's just like
back to Panspermia.
Yeah, what's happening here? Who made this part?
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think and the danger with anything when it comes to AI and stuff. So here's an interesting thing about AI. Like we are making amazing strides with AI.
Yeah.
Now artificial intelligence is different from artificial consciousness. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So but the AI that what we're getting out of it is nothing like us, right? So back in the day where people were like, oh, we're gonna like model the human brain, and that's how we'll do it. We'll like make programs that are and what they've learned is like, oh, that doesn't really work that well. So now this is the whole big data thing, like network theory and big data and deep learning, where like they're using statistical, the power of having huge amounts of computing and statistical reasoning, so that the computer it'll find the picture of the cat. But you have no idea why it found the picture. It didn't reason like, oh yeah, that sort of looks like cat, and I like cats. It's just like, oh, these kinds of lines go with that kind of thing. It has no idea what it's doing, but it'll act intelligently. And so that's, that's kind of freaky deaky in a lot of ways too. I think I think it's smart to think about the dangers of AI, not necessarily.
Well, the dangers to us.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the dangers. Just the dangers to this thing that we are, this weird monkey thing.
Yeah.
That wants to keep being a monkey thing.
Yeah. Well, you mean in the sense of that it's going to replace us?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's inevitable. I mean, don't you think that if you go back and interview the single-celled organism before it branched off into multi-celled,
that'd be kind of a boring interview.
Fuck this multi-celled bullshit. I want to stay a single cell at the bottom of the ocean.
These guys are assholes, man. With their rock and roll music.
What are they going to do? They're going to make cars? Fuck that. I don't want a car, man. I like staying down here.
Yeah.
Like there's a real thought to that we are the wetware that is the problem.
Yeah. No, listen, I think it's fully conceivable. Like, I'm not going to be like, it'll never happen. But as a guy I know who's a philosopher says, there's a certain way in which everything we do with AI right now, it's not like, Watson is playing chess. It's like we're using Watson to play chess. It's our tool, And I think the fear is the tool gets out of hand. Not that it, develops a thing where, I hate humans, Dad, I hate you. But more that it's like, these things which are not actually thinking, they act intelligently, but they're not thinking, can have a huge, it'll have a really negative impact. It'll what is it? There's that example of, if you design something that is an AI system to make paper clips, it ends up consuming the entire planet making paper clips, because that's what you told it to do.
Right, you never told it to make a sustainable amount of paper clips.
Right, exactly. So I'm more worried about that than I am of, Skynet, coming over and, deciding that's going to, drop all the bombs on us because it needs to get rid of us.
Well,
Happy Father's Day, yo. What everybody doing today, yo? My homie called me a little while ago. Said he's gonna have a cookout at one of the parks. Told me to come out there with him. I asked him if he was gonna use gas or charcoal, cause I ain't want him to use charcoal unless somebody called the cops on this and shit. But this fucker don't eat steak. He don't eat red meat, yo. He don't eat like burgers and shit like that. So I might have to bring my own steak out there.
With other people that are good drivers, so you don't have to make up any bad ones.
I don't like comics that go on stage drunk.
Right.
I don't like how they need this alcohol or people that think weed, like, you know, people that think weed, like, I'm not saying weed makes you lazy, but lazy people shouldn't smoke weed.
Right, I know what you're saying. Well, as a person who smokes weed, it really bothers me because I'm not lazy at all, and I hate that connection between lazy people and weed, because I don't think that's what makes you lazy.
No, I agree. That's why I'm saying I'm not saying it makes you lazy.
No.
But if you're already lazy and then you do this, it's not going to be a winning combination.
It's not just that; it just looks bad. And you blame it on the weed.
Look at J.R. Smith. I think that was a weed situation.
Who's J.R. Smith?
From the. Oh, you don't even know. He don't even know. Cleveland Cavaliers.
Jamie jumps in to press the microphone. I know that guy. I know what we're talking about.
The game. That's the game. The game. Cleveland Cavaliers. He was like he did something really stupid. It was like 3-4 seconds left. Their tie ball game.
Right.
One of their other guys is at the free throw line. He misses the free throw. J.R. Smith grabs the ball. Instead of putting it up to win the game, he dribbles out because he thought that they were up. And the look on his face was like that, kind of like, I've seen this high look before. I'm not saying he was on weed, but I have heard stories that he smokes a lot of weed. So, and I'm saying, like, those weed people out there, like, there's an example of it. There are brilliant people that smoke weed. There are successful.
Look at LeBron.
That's the look LeBron had on his face.
What the fuck, man?
What are you doing?
First of all, how jacked is LeBron? Look at those fucking shoulders.
6'9", 250, probably 6% body fat.
Look at the shoulders on that
33 years old, too.
And he's getting better.
Yes, it's unbelievable.
His shoulders are fucking epic.
Yeah, man. There's another picture of him, like, straight on, where he literally looks like an Avenger. Like, he could be, like, some sort of, like...
Keep him the fuck away from Jeff Nowitzki.
You know, look at that picture. Look at that picture of them right there, that one where J.R. Smith is smiling.
Yeah. Dude, he is
weed look
jacked.
on his face.
Oh, yeah, he's high as fuck. 100%. Oh, that's a high guy.
He just gets high, and I think
stoners understand other stoners.
I think that he got like he had a little brain slip.
I guarantee he did.
You know, when people are paying you $17 million,
or they paid him off to try to drag him into 7 games. That's what Jimmy thinks.
My
Look at him.
God.
Oh, he's high as fuck.
Here you
Look at
guys
him.
go. That's boom. That's him.
Yeah, but there's plenty of pictures of me that look like that too, where I'm sober. They catch you.
You could just
catch
look.
you blinking.
You could just look up J.R. Smith high, and I'm sure there's a website.
So he smokes a lot of weed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Smoking weed.
Well, there you go. Well, doesn't it like one of those things? The NBA has it in their contract that they don't test for weed.
They do test, but it's not as stringent as everyone.
They test for weed, but these guys are all getting high.
Right.
Like it's
Locker rooms.
Here's the thing: for pool, I told you I play pool. Pool, marijuana is a performance-enhancing drug. 100%. It makes my game 10% better.
I don't believe you.
You don't have to. I'm telling you.
Weed does not make your pool game better.
It does. It
Okay?
makes you more sensitive. Trust me.
Oh.
It's the reason why basketball players find it better too. It puts them into some sort of a zone. Now, are you saying that LeBron James needs weed? No. Like, there's a lot of pro pool players who are top of the food chain who don't do anything.
Right.
But a lot of guys who like it say that weed bumps their game up quite a bit, and I'm one of them. It makes me play better. I'm telling you. You don't know because you don't smoke weed.
You need to experiment.
Okay.
I want to experiment. I want you to play. You're gonna play pool.
Do you play?
No. Okay. You're gonna play pool sober.
Okay.
Okay. And then you're gonna see your results. And then.
See, the problem is, if I play pool sober and then I smoke pot and get high, I will have been warmed up by the playing pool sober, and I'll definitely play better high. Anyway.
Separate days.
But the problem with separate days is, your body has to be like perfectly in tune in order to get real accurate results. Because one day I could have lifted weights, which fucks up your pool game like nothing.
Here we go.
I'm telling you. Just be honest with you.
Just pick 2 days.
All my best games, I was medicated. Matt Barnes on his game day use of marijuana.
Matt Barnes, who will not be in the Hall of Fame, who
Is he a good player?
He's
all right.
He's just all right.
He's a role player.
I want Michael Jordan to come out and say that. Then I'm going to be like, oh wow. Yeah, I want someone like that. Don't tell me what the role players.
Well, see, you're saying this though as a guy who doesn't smoke pot. But I'm telling you, for jujitsu, it's a huge part of the jujitsu world. A lot of people get high and then do jujitsu, and they say it makes their game better.
What's the practical use of jujitsu?
Well, if you and I were in a fight, that would kill you.
I think you would kill me.
Practical.
I think you would kill me anyway,
Yeah,
Joe.
but that would be the practical.
Okay, so it's just for that moment, but in any other time.
But no, it's not just.
Would you want to be high if you were like walking to your car late at night and then 3 guys came at you and you would? Would you want to? Let me ask you, what's the perfect circumstance then? It's late at night. You're headed to your car.
I don't think you understand marijuana.
Would you want to? I'm just saying. Would you want to? What would you prefer? Would you prefer to be sober or high?
I'd be fine with that. Yeah.
You'd fine with either one.
Yeah.
Okay, good then.
Depends. I mean, I'm not going to be able to do anything different if I'm sober or high. I'm fit. We're not talking about drunk. Now, if you said, would I want to be drunk or sober? Fuck yeah, I want to be sober.
Oh no, I'm not. I get it.
If I'm worried about getting hit and I'm not unsure about reaction time or. One of the things about pot is it makes you a little bit paranoid, so it puts you on edge. It makes you aware of shit.
Okay.
The other thing is it focuses you like very cleanly on what you're doing.
Oh, there's
like
a lot of potheads out here just really
if you're
happy.
drawing, no, I like it. But if you're drawing or music or something along those lines where you're really trying to focus, a lot of like writing, a lot of people really like it for those things because it makes you really focus on what you're doing.
But then
tunnel vision.
But then I think what happens then is that that's whatever they were doing on that, they don't apply it to. Because I have a lot of. I mean, we all have a lot. We both have a lot of pothead comedian friends.
Yeah, but
and there's some of them I know that when I started with them, I know that they're not doing what they're doing now. They didn't keep going, exceed their expectations, and I know part of it was because of the pot.
I don't think it is. I think the pot is
That's
just
the common
something they can
denominator.
use as an excuse. It's not. The common denominator is no work ethic.
Agreed.
The common denominator is that they don't
And it didn't
have,
help the work ethic.
I don't think it hurts or helps. I think it's just it's a factor.
Should you see a study on this?
Yeah, I mean the study would be skewed because a lot of failures that get high all the time would be in the study.
Right.
But a lot of winners that get high all the time don't want to talk about it.
By the way, I'm with you 100% on this. What I hate is that the people that don't have any work ethic, they look at somebody with a work ethic that smokes weed and then say, well, look, they made it because they smoke weed. And I'm like, no, they would have made it without the weed.
Yeah, they would have made it without the weed.
That's what I'm saying.
Before I ever smoked weed, I was already on television. I
Yeah.
already had a Warner Brothers CD. As you know,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
start
yeah.
smoking weed until like 2000.
I'm not anti-weed, but I just think that with anything there should be moderation.
Yes. No, I agree. Like one of the best things I did last year was Ari and Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer and I, we did this Sober October thing where for a whole month, no booze, no pot, and we had to do 15 hot yoga classes in the month. And I learned a lot in that month. I really did.
Are you a different person because of it?
No, it was good. You gotta get out of here.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
catch up.
yeah,
It's
no, I
almost
have
3
another.
hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
It's already 2:20, bro.
Yeah, I'm doing another one. I'm going.
What are you doing?
I'm going to see Barry Katz. If you can believe
Oh,
that.
congratulations.
Barry Katz is a podcast. That's going to be an interesting day for me.
what was we just
about the pot.
But well, I forget what I was going to say. Stoner thought. No, it's not.
Uh-huh.
It's not whether or not you smoke pot. It's whether or not you get things done, and whether or not you write out what you're supposed to do. Whether or not you actually try to achieve goals. Whether or not you're actively trying to improve whatever you're doing. Whether you build cars or make cabinetry. It's just about whether or not you're working towards succeeding and improving. And
I agree. Listen, I agree with you. I'm not anti-pot. I'm not.
you should, but
I agree with you.
based on evidence of the people that are around, a lot of us, we should be anti-pot. I should be anti-pot. Dude, I know a lot of people that made me sad. Like I'd run into them at the Comedy Store, and they'd be like, "Bro, you got any weed on you, man?" You got any weed?" And I'd be like, "You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything with your life, and you want some weed. Go get a job,
Those are
get some
people I
money,
see.
get some weed." Yeah. But then you also see guys like Ari, who get high all the time, and they're constantly working. Or you know,
Or Doug Benson, who's like the most functional pothead I've ever met in my life.
he's high all day. He's a weird one. Or Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. So there are people, but these are people that they're the exceptions, not the rule.
I wonder. There's a lot of people on Wall Street that get high. There's a lot of people that are involved in like the tech world that get high a lot. And what people think about it is that look, it's like everything else, man. It can be good for you or it can fuck your world up. You know, I mean,
moderation.
I think there's some benefit to it, and what the benefit is, vulnerability, creativity. It makes you feel vulnerable. It makes you re-examine things. It makes you look at. I mean, people call it paranoia. I just think it broadens your awareness.
I think as a stand-up, you already have a level of vulnerability just going on stage and talking about things.
For sure.
So that's like my.
For sure, there's some of that.
I just feel like that's my drug.
It's a good drug. I mean, it's definitely not one that's going to ruin your life. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Unless you tell a bad Planet of the Apes joke on Twitter. Holla.
On that Aryan Ambien, you know what I mean?
Aryan Ambien. See.
Wait, did he just take a shot at Roseanne? Ooh, Joe Rogan. I used to always get confused between Roseanne Barr and Rosie O'Donnell. Now when I come back, I can start bringing down her dress and the roses. Actually, I might do the roses first. So now, her skin, her hair, and her little hair decorative thingy has a first layer of paint on it. Shit. So I'm gonna start working on her dress later on today. I'm about to go take a break for a little while. Peace.